would like to thank all of our patrons for your continued support.
Pretty nice, eh?
Hello friends, this is a project video to show you a project that I did that was pretty extensive that in the end didn't work out the way I had hoped it would work out, so I can't use it. I show you lots of videos where I complete a project, so I thought this would be a good chance to show you a piece I did that I put a lot of effort into, and it didn't work. Actually the piece works, and I think that the design of this is a solar hatch. It was intended for my aft lazarette. I think the design is a good idea, and that's one of the main reasons I'm sharing this. You might be able to implement something like this on your boat to help you, but it doesn't fit in the space I needed to fit in. And so let's get into what it is and what happened. So as I just mentioned, this was intended to be a solar hatch for my aft lazarette. Now, the big obstacle with my aft lazarette is that there's a very small space between the deck and the backstay, and you can't cheat forward at all because there's the main sheet winch is there. So I was very limited in my space, and this is quite a bit thicker than the original wooden hatch that's there. And I designed this, and I took it down and I tested it, and basically what happened was, this is the side. I tested it by taking the built box before I finished it, just like the wood structure before I did all the resin and paint and everything. I set it on the deck and it fit over the hatch perfect, and then I tilted it up and there was plenty of space before it hit the backstay to still use the lazarette in like a realistic way. Basically what I did was, when I lifted it like that, I was lifting it on this it was hinging on the back side of this part down here, like here, and not where the actual hinges meet, which is like right there. So like the hinges screwed on to here, you can see the holes maybe, and so the throw of the hinges was far less than the physicality of just lifting this up. So if there had been hinges mounted to this, which would have made the whole thing not functional, then I would have possibly had the correct, but they would have been like wild hinges that would have been custom made and stuff. So that's what I get for not screwing in the hinges and everything to the mocked up piece to see how it worked. It cost me hours and hours and a lot of material. Now this is only a 50-watt panel, and I intended on this being my first solar panel on the boat and then adding on larger panels after that. I wanted to install this basically as like a trickle charge for the battery. In case like the power went down or I forgot to turn the shore power on or anything like that, then I would have some sort of way that kept the batteries like charging. Because 50 watts doesn't do you much anyway. So I'm still probably going to use this. I'll install it on the turtle, like main companionway hatch turtle that we're making. But obviously it's not going to go where I had hoped. Now, let me show you, get into like what I was thinking about when I designed this. And in hindsight, I think it's very overbuilt. It's heavy. And I'm starting to really think about weight on the boat, because we're getting ready to install our self-steering wind vane, which is extremely heavy. And all of that weight is going to be aft. And then this is pretty heavy, maybe 25 pounds or something. But it's and maybe it's not that much, you know, it could be, I don't know, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, but it's heavier than it maybe needs to be. But what I was thinking about when I built this was I knew I needed a hatch that opened, and as I said, where this mounts, you can only get like to this much space to get into the lazarette, and which would render that lazarette almost useless. And that's where I keep all my fuel cans and stuff, so I need a big opening to get stuff in and out of there. So, but I knew I had limited space back there, so I was like, well, there's going to be things in the way, like the boom might be in the way, or the stay, as far as like shadows go. And so I was like, well, it'd be nice if I could figure out a way to position the solar panel and not just have it laying flat, so we could kind of, you know, maximize what it was giving us depending on what time of day it was, where we're at, and which way the sun was pointing. So I thought about for a long time, I was like, there must be some kind of like, I imagine there would be some kind of pre-made armature, and I definitely considered like the posable mounts for flat screen TVs, but I knew that those weren't stainless, and I was worried about not really being able to secure those down very well, or like torque them down so that the wind didn't take off with them. And what I ended up coming up with after a bunch of different ideas was I used ram mounts, and we'll show you the inside of it in a second. But basically you have these little access holes here, and you can turn this to loosen it, and there's one on either side, and it I have my little rubber latch there, so you can go like that, point it however you want, point it up, and then you tighten down your ram mount, and it stays in that position. Or if the sun is off to one side or the other, you can position it like that. You know, all sorts of different ways. Highly positionable. And it would have been cool had it fit the space. It would have been great. And then I even put this like rubber latch aft, because I was worried about like if a wave came over the stern that it might rip this off. So when underway, there was going to be this latch here, and there was going to be a forward latch with locks that bolted it to the deck, that way to prevent theft, and to just keep it secure. So we already know what went wrong, but let's talk about what went right with this. I'm going to go ahead and take the top off and show you guys what the sort of inside looks like. Okay, so here are the armatures from Ram Mount. If you don't know about Ram Mounts, you should, because they're an incredible company that makes really great products. These are all metal, the bases, everything, and these are the sort of plates that go on the bottom part of our solar panel part. And I drilled a bunch of holes because I'd read that these flexible panels need a lot of air underneath to help with overheating. So I drilled holes in there and had my little cutouts so you could access the little armatures, and then a kick-up block so that it would not fall down. It would stay, kind of brings it up to the same level as these when they're flat. And yeah, that's how I went about it. And again, I think it's a good design. I just think that you have to have the space, obviously, and we did not. And then, like, here was the bottom. So, this is the size of my original hatch. I just measured and everything, and that was that. So that's like the mechanics of it, and I had used marine ply and put resin coated everything, and then painted it with topside paint, and it would have been great had it fit in the spot I needed it to. So if you're in need of like a positionable solar hatch, maybe some of the design elements of this will come in handy. You could replicate this exact design for not much money, or you could take bits of this and figure out what works for the application that you're applying it to. But yeah, I just wanted to share this sort of failed project with you guys, since I share so many successful projects. And maybe that'll save somebody a little time or help you in designing your own positionable hatch, and you know, go from there. Like I said, I'll probably be using this on we're going to be installing like a turtle shell hatch for our sliding companionway, which keeps the waves out from the cabin. And so I'll probably mount this 50 watt on top of there. Again, 50 watt doesn't do much for you, a little bit more than a trickle charge maybe, but we plan on installing rigid solar panels on our quarters anyway. So so thanks for watching, and give us a thumbs up if you like this, or if you like the idea. If you enjoy seeing one of my projects fail, give it 2 thumbs up, and leave me a comment if you have anything to say, any questions. I'm happy to answer them, and fair winds until next time.